Ladies and gentlemen, believers and visionaries, let me ask you a question that will shake you deeper than any sermon or song. How do you know, really know, that the Holy Spirit is in your life? When the Holy Spirit is truly present in your life, he doesn't just come to make you feel good, he comes to make you right. One of the clearest, most unmistakable signs that he's active in you is this: he will convict you more than he comforts you. And that conviction is not condemnation, it's calibration. He's adjusting your heart, aligning your actions, and making sure your character can carry the calling God placed on your life. You'll start to notice this in the small moments. You say something sharp in frustration and immediately there's a nudge. Go make that right. You start heading in a direction that looks good but doesn't feel right, and something deep inside says, this isn't the way. That's not fear, that's the Spirit doing his job. See, the Holy Spirit isn't just your cheerleader, he's your coach. And coaches don't just clap when you do well, they correct you when you miss the mark. When you start walking with the Spirit, you become aware that not everything that's permissible is profitable. He'll start making you uncomfortable with things you used to be okay with, shows you used to watch, conversations you used to entertain, places you used to go. It's not that they're always sinful, but they're no longer aligned with where he's taking you. I remember when I was stepping into a new level of business and ministry, and an opportunity came that looked tailor-made, big money, big stage, big exposure, but when I prayed, I felt this heaviness in my spirit. Everything on paper said yes, but the Holy Spirit said no. I had to learn in that moment that his voice was more valuable than any platform. That's what conviction does. It teaches you how to walk in alignment, not just ambition. It teaches you that just because something is available doesn't mean it's anointed. The Spirit will start pulling you away from distractions, and sometimes that includes people. You'll feel the tug in conversations, the shift in relationships. And you won't always understand it, but the more you obey those convictions, the clearer his voice becomes. Some of the most dangerous people are the ones who ignore the Spirit's conviction and call it grace. Grace is not permission to stay in your mess. It's power to walk out of it. And the Holy Spirit is the one who gives you that power, not by force, but by internal transformation. He doesn't just want to fix your behavior, he wants to rewire your desires. That's what conviction is all about. Not just stopping you from doing wrong, but drawing you into what's right. And when you start choosing conviction over comfort, you don't just avoid mistakes, you step into maturity. That's how you know the Holy Spirit is in your life, not just by what he lets you enjoy, but by what he won't let you settle for. One of the most undeniable signs that the Holy Spirit is present in your life is that you begin to operate in a power that exceeds your personality. The things you used to be afraid of, the things you used to think you weren't qualified for, suddenly become doors you're not only walking through, you're owning when you get there. And it's not because you got more confidence, because you got more convinced of who's working inside you. See, personality can only take you so far. You can be charming, articulate, intelligent, but there will always be limits to what your natural self can accomplish. But when the Holy Spirit steps in, you tap into supernatural capacity. That's when you start doing things you were never trained to do. That's when you step into assignments that are bigger than your education, bigger than your background, bigger than your experience, and still win. It reminds me of Moses. He told God, I'm not eloquent. I can't speak well. And God didn't say, don't worry, Moses, I'll fix your personality. He said, who made your mouth? In other words, it's not about you. It's about me. And the same Spirit that empowered Moses, that filled Peter, that descended on Jesus, that Spirit is alive in you. When you begin to operate under the influence of the Holy Spirit, there's a boldness that starts to show up in your life. You start to speak with authority even when your voice shakes. You start to take steps of faith that don't make sense on paper. You stop asking, am I ready, and start declaring, God is with me. The Holy Spirit doesn't wait for your personality to catch up. He pushes you into your purpose and teaches your personality how to follow. Let me make it plain. You may be introverted, but the Holy Spirit will still use you to speak truth that changes lives. You may be soft-spoken, but he'll use your voice to break chains. You may be someone who's been overlooked, dismissed, or told to sit in the background. But when the Spirit fills you, he brings you to the front and says, I've appointed you for this. And that's why we can never confuse charisma with calling. Some people have a big presence, but no power. They can draw a crowd, but they can't break yokes. The Holy Spirit doesn't come to make you look impressive. He comes to make you effective. He gives you the power to love when it's hard, to endure when it's heavy, to rise when others fold. That's the kind of power that changes generations. This isn't hype. This is Holy Spirit fire. You'll start moving differently, praying differently, leading differently. It won't be loud necessarily, but it'll be real. You'll feel him nudging you when to speak and when to be silent, when to step up and when to stand still. And in those moments you realize, this is not me anymore. This is God in me. That's the power that comes with his presence. Not power to dominate people, but power to deliver purpose. Not power to manipulate, but power to minister. When the Holy Spirit is alive in you, your excuses start dying and your assignment starts rising. One of the clearest, most beautiful signs that the Holy Spirit is truly living in you is this. You begin to experience peace that makes no sense. I'm not talking about the kind of peace that comes when everything's going right, when the bills are paid, the relationships are thriving, and the path is clear. That's natural peace. That's peace anybody can feel. But Holy Spirit peace is different. It's supernatural. It shows up when the bottom drops out and you should be losing your mind, but somehow you're still standing, you're still calm, you're still believing. That's how you know the Spirit is working in you, not because he removes the storm, but because he gives you rest inside of it. I remember being in a season where everything around me was chaotic. Things I thought were secure started falling apart. People I trusted started pulling away. Opportunities dried up. If you looked at it from the outside, you'd think I was going under. But I wasn't. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't afraid. In fact, I was more steady than I had ever been before. Why? Because the Holy Spirit was anchoring me. I wasn't standing on circumstances. I was standing on confidence in the one who holds the outcome. The peace of the Holy Spirit is not passive. It's not just a chill vibe. It's a weapon. It guards your heart and mind when fear tries to barge in. It keeps you grounded when life tries to pull you in a million directions. It shuts down panic before it takes root. And it's not a peace you manufacture. It's a peace he imparts. Jesus said, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives. That means this peace isn't fragile. It's not dependent on what people say or what the news reports. It's built on the unshakable foundation of God's presence within you. And when the Spirit is alive in you, that peace becomes your default, not your exception. You can be walking into a doctor's office not knowing what the diagnosis will be and still feel peace. You can be in a courtroom, a boardroom, or an emergency room and still feel peace. You can be in the middle of the greatest uncertainty of your life, and yet something inside you keeps saying, God. That's not optimism. That's not denial. That's divine assurance. That's the Holy Spirit doing what only he can do, speaking calm into your chaos. You know the Spirit is in your life when your emotional state is no longer at the mercy of your circumstances, when your spirit stays anchored while the waves crash. When you don't respond out of fear because the Spirit keeps reminding you who you are and whose you are. You stop reacting and start resting. That's the kind of peace the world can't explain. And it's the kind of peace the world can't take away. When the Holy Spirit is in you, peace becomes your posture, not just your prayer request. You walk into every room with stability. You show up to every situation with clarity. And people will start asking, how are you so calm right now? And your answer will be simple. I'm not alone. The Holy Spirit is with me, and he's got this. When the Holy Spirit is truly at work in your life, the evidence isn't just found in how you feel. It's found in what you produce. So many people chase spiritual moments, emotional highs, and powerful church experiences, thinking those are the markers of the Holy Spirit's presence. And while those moments can be real and meaningful, they're not the proof. The real evidence, it's the fruit. The Bible is clear. You will know them by their fruit, not their shout, not their title, not how many Bible verses they can quote. Fruit. And the fruit of the Spirit is not about gifting, it's about character. It's love when it's inconvenient, joy when it doesn't make sense, peace in the middle of chaos, patience when things aren't moving fast enough, kindness when people don't deserve it, goodness that shows up in your decision, faithfulness that doesn't waver in the dark, gentleness that brings strength under control, self-control that says no even when your flesh is screaming yes. This fruit doesn't grow overnight. You can't fake it or force it. It grows from within when the Spirit is truly rooted in you. He cultivates it over time, pruning away the old nature, digging deep into your heart, reshaping your responses, and renewing your mind. And here's the thing, fruit is not for you, it's for others. The people around you should be able to taste the presence of God in your life. They should be able to say, there's something different about the way she forgives, or he handles pressure with grace I've never seen before. That's not your personality, it's the Holy Spirit living through you. I've met people who could prophesy, lay hands, and operate in spiritual gifts with precision, but they were rude, impatient, prideful, or lacked integrity. That's not the Holy Spirit. The Spirit doesn't just give you power, he gives you evidence. The fruit, and let's be honest, it's easy to act saved when everything is going well. But when life presses you, what comes out? That's when the fruit speaks. When you've been offended but choose not to retaliate. When you've been wronged and respond with grace. When the doors close, the money dries up and the support disappears, but your joy stays steady. That's fruit. That's the sign that the Spirit isn't just visiting your life, he's dwelling there. You want to know if the Holy Spirit is in your life? Don't just look at how high you can jump in worship. Look at how straight you can walk on Monday. Look at how you treat people when no one's watching. Look at what kind of harvest your life is producing. Because in the kingdom, fruit is the real flex. And when the Spirit is truly alive in you, your life becomes a garden that testifies to his goodness. You stop trying to prove you're spiritual and you start producing what only the Spirit can grow.